Alrighty, so I'm going to go over the final order cutoff for April 26, 2021. It's not too big a week for order cutoff books for my picks just because there's not too much new that's coming out. We usually start off with Image Comics just because they're at the top of the previews list. Geyser #1 is getting a third print. It doesn't have a cover art solicitation yet. And that usually bodes well for books, especially since it's so close to the cutoff window. Once they release the cover art, sometimes people are kind of falling to FOMO, and they try to pay a premium for it. Radiant Black #1 and #2 are getting reprints that kind of match each other. There's also a incentive variant for #2, which may be under ordered just because #2s won't be ordered as heavily as #1s because people will only get them if they have decided they like the series. Starting with #1. Besides that, there's not much else for Image Comics. Stray Dogs has the horror variant homages, but if you're not into those, then there's really nothing for you there. IDW has the Godzilla #2 photo cover. Features Mothra. Mothra is pretty popular kaiju in the Godzilla universe, so I wouldn't mind ordering one just because it's something that I'm into. For the most part, DC has two things that are popping out to me. The first is the Batman Fortnite 0 Point #2 second print. I didn't realize that all of the Batman Fortnite comics were going to have redeemable codes for the Fortnite video game. It is extremely popular, and if you collect all of the codes, you get to have access to a special Batman skin when you redeem all 6 codes or 5 codes, whatever it is. So I would go ahead and order a handful of those just because they will be good flips, and maybe, well, not so much holds, but flips just because people will be wanting to redeem those codes for the Armored Batman. The second pick that I have for DC is Wonder Girl #1. Tfal has an exclusive that's fairly priced, but just going with the cover A isn't bad as well. It's Wonder Girl #1, which features Yara Flor. They were kind of hinting that she was going to be a Wonder Woman, so having her play the part of Wonder Girl is pretty interesting. There's going to be 4 different covers. I would just go with the cover A, maybe sit in a copy or 2 because it's going to be her first solo series. Going forward, Marvel has a couple personal picks. I usually read Daredevil. There's a million tie-ins for the Heroes Reborn event. Gonna pass on just about all of them unless they gain some traction later on, just because there's a million tie-ins and they usually don't pan out to anything big. The thing that I am looking at is Immortal Hulk, Time of Monsters. Immortal Hulk is an amazing title. It's going to be written by Al Ewing. The cover or the artist is not Joe Bennett. So I'm not too excited about that because the guest artists that they have for Immortal Hulk just don't quite do it for me. But it does go into like an origin story about a Green Door visitor from like 10,000 years ago. It's probably prehistoric times. Could be neat first appearance if they try to bring into main continuity later on. Wouldn't hurt to grab a copy or 2 and just sit on them for a while till we see something happen. If you're into some crime and some pretty decent writing for more dramatic books, Jessica Jones' Alias is getting an omnibus. Brian Michael Bendis usually excels in those kinds of stories that are a little more serious, a little more fleshed out, more wordy. And Jessica Jones' Alias was where he kind of showed what he had in Marvel. There's not much else that's popping out for me. Shang-Chi is getting a #1 just because he's getting a movie. It's not always a good thing when they put out those #1s just because they're cranking them out to promote said movie. Star Wars High Republic is getting #1 is getting a 5th print, and all the 2nd and 3rd issues are getting further prints as well. Pretty much just grayed out versions of the original covers. I would go with the #1. Probably wouldn't go heavy on #2 and #3 just because there's already a million variants and reprints now. Boom Studios has the return of We Only Find Them When They're Dead. It's another Al Ewing book. Al Ewing's writing is amazing. That one features these kind of like space foragers. They go and harvest parts from dead gods that are just kind of floating in space. A pretty neat story once you get into it. Berserker is getting number 2 is getting a second print. The reprints on Berserker are kind of ridiculous. They're pretty high print runs and they're available everywhere. And for some reason they are just blowing up to ridiculous prices on the secondary market. So I would pre-order a copy or two wherever offers them. I know Golden Apple usually offers them a cover price at first. Midtown and Tefal might, but I am not positive. So I would check those out. As far as anything else, there's not really any new titles from the more smaller independent books that are popping out for me for this week. It's like I said, it's a small week, and I kind of just fleshed it out a little bit more than some previous weeks. That's about it for April 26, 2021. Hopefully you find something you like or continue on something that you've already been into, and we'll see you next week.